Welcome to the Astro Lounge, a podcast that invites you to unwind, have a little fun, and engage in meaningful conversations with others in the astro community and beyond.
We're some astro babes turned astro besties who met at Astrology University. We believe in astrology that works with you and that your chart is completely special and unique. In this pod, we're going to have some fun with astro through games, discussions, special guests, and even more.
Hi, I'm Simona, a travel consultant turned astrologer. I now help people journey inward, serving as a guide towards deeper self-discovery, agency, and a more meaningful, wonder-filled life.
Hiya, I'm Kaia, an astrologer weaving the threads of my three passions together: theater, astrology, and witchcraft, all for the hopes of digging into these little cosmic winks for some doses of self-love and self-acceptance.
So sit back, relax, grab a cozy beverage,
and let's get cosmic in this Astro Lounge. Hello.
Hello, Kaia. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing
Yay.
pretty good, actually. Having a nice weekend already. How about yourself? You having a good weekend?
Yes, I'm feeling a lot of energy, and like there's a lot of action right now, which is very Aries season, right? So a lot of
Oh,
yes, like so much energy right now. So that's what I'm feeling.
so much Aries energy.
Yeah.
So much Aries. I mean, it's like, I don't think it's been a very long time since there's been this many planets in Aries. And by
Yeah.
the way, for those of you that are listening today, we are recording on April 11th. It is 1:30 p.m. And so Mars has just recently gone into Aries, and there's a lot of other planets. What else is we've got Saturn and Neptune, and I think Venus is in Taurus now, but we've got a
Yeah.
lot of planets in Aries.
And then Mercury comes eventually to join
Yes.
soon. So yeah. And then there's
Yeah, a
an
lot of
Aries
dynamism, a lot of dynamism.
a lot of dynamism. And we record these a little bit of ahead, so we might be, when you're listening to it, it might be kind of like end of May, but Mars is here for like 6 weeks. And astrology isn't like a light switch where you just turn it on and off, but we definitely can see the effects of it, like before, afterwards, of various planetary transits and energetics. And I just think the Aries themes have been kind of you know expressed in many, many ways recently.
Oh, yes, definitely. And what I find is really interesting is Mars,
Hmm.
which Mars just moved into Aries, and Aries is
Yep.
a Mars ruled sign. But what I found really interesting is that in moving into Aries, it moved into the same sign that Neptune is in right now, within a couple of degrees. It's right now, it's within, actually, I think it's actually conjoined Neptune at the moment. It's like really
Yeah.
very close. So as it moved into Aries, I thought I'd have, you would think that you would have like this kind of surge of energy,
Yeah.
but yet, especially moving from Mars in Pisces to Mars in Aries. However, being that it's now conjunct Neptune, it's like that really speaks to the power of the planets, right? Versus a sign, because as it moved into Aries and is now co-present with Neptune, I kind of felt like all like right away almost this sense of like this fog. Like I was kind of like in this kind of haze. Like I was getting a lot done yesterday. I was getting a lot done, but I was like, what am I doing? It's in this kind of misty way. It was a very interesting experience.
Yeah, it's energy, action, and then there's also the Neptunian themes, and then there, of course, it's going to meet up eventually with like Saturn, and here, so it's going to have these little conversations with these other planets. But you're so right. It's we always want to look at the planet first, and then you kind of weave in the energy of the sign. But whew, like it's really funny though, because the past 2 days at work, everyone is really, really irritated, and
Revved up.
yeah, one of my good friends, she was like, I just feel so agitated and frustrated right today. And this is when you forget to like use astrology. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder why. And then last night, as I was kind of going over transits, I'm like, oh my God. And it was like really, like literally when Mars entered Aries was the day everyone was so annoyed.
Well, there's like this surge. It's really interesting because there's this surge of energy, right? But it's also
Yeah.
mixed with Neptune and Saturn because Neptune and Saturn are basically they're a couple of degrees apart right now. It's still part of that dynamic. So it's like a little bit of like
Uh,
fog and putting on the brakes at the same time as going
yeah.
forward. So it's like it's this
Yes.
interesting energetic for sure.
Yeah, because Aries is like, I want to go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Or Mars
Yes.
and Mars, the planet of action, let's go, let's drive, let's go. I want to get shit done. And Saturn, that is, it's such a like puts the brakes on. And Neptune is like, what is?
To
You're like,
go.
what? I just want to go. And Neptune's like, but what is go? You're like,
What
okay,
is go?
what
Where are we
is?
going? I
I
know.
feel, I feel like Neptune is like the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland with the hookah, where you're like, okay, dude, just like tell me what's up.
I love that. I love that. Yes. Yes. And it's like Aries can be very direct and wants to just kind of like, shoo.
Yeah.
And Neptune does not really, that's not its
Oh,
style, right? That's
always
not at all
direct.
direct
Why
in
would we
any
do
way.
that? No,
Why
no.
would we do that? But what's also interesting is right now, Venus is also sextile Jupiter. So it's
Yes.
crazy. Like you can kind of feel all these different energetics within you. So last
Yeah.
night, I went to a friend's house and he hosted this beautiful dinner for his friend. Like
Oh,
he made pizzas for us. We were sitting outside. The weather was beautiful. It felt so expansive, and I felt like, oh my God, I love you all. It was that feeling. I could really feel that Venus Jupiter sextile. But at
yeah.
the same time, that day had been so frustrating and so
Mhm.
like I said, I was doing things, but I was like in a total fog. So it's just really fascinating
Yeah.
to experience those transits, really think about them in real time, how there's all this nuance and different
Mm.
things going on at once.
I know it's so true. And you'll see it in like different areas of your life. Like maybe work with more of the Mars flavored stuff or as for you, and that's so like Venus and Taurus, so Jupiter and Cancer, so evocative energy, the earth, the water, like gathering food, the nighttime is more intimate. Like that's such a literal, beautiful illustration of how you can experience all these different transits, or just like planetary flavors throughout the sprinkles of day. And like it doesn't always immediately affect you. What's interesting is sometimes you see it affecting the world or the collective or other people around you. Um, but that is, I guess, a way of experiencing things too. A Neptunian thought there.
Yes, just something to think about. So we have a topic that we're going to discuss today,
Yes,
but I
we
think it's
do.
always fun to kind of think about what's going on in the moment and
Yeah,
feel into that and all of that.
yeah, I know. I'm ready for the Aries energy, and it's already kind of been brewing. But it is kind of interesting to see wherever Aries is in your chart and see is there anything that's being kicked up. Because there are all these planets there right now, and like significant ones, and then eventually Uranus is going to head into Gemini. So we have these really, really big shifts happening. So the shakeups, the changes, maybe different changes in projects and plans and visions and goals that you have. I don't know. There's some, of course, but also maybe some excitement. Some cycles have been winding down as these big ones begin.
It's really beautiful to think, yes, how
Yeah.
things are winding down. I mean, right now, I think Mercury's still in Pisces, but it's like kind of the
Mhm.
last lingering. So much has moved into Aries. There's
Yeah.
so much surge of new life, new
Yeah.
dreams, new all these things. Of course, like we know what we're experiencing on a global level. It's not
Yeah.
all
It's not all
beautiful
good.
and wonderful. Of course
Yeah.
not. We've got Mars
No.
with Saturn is not
Mhm.
the most, it can be great for taking action on your dreams, for moving
Yeah.
forward, but obviously there's,
The
also
shadow.
yes, and the challenge, and it can be a very, very difficult transit as well.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
got to look at all of it. So, of course,
Yeah.
just for those of you that are listening and thinking back around that time, it'll be interesting
Mhm.
to think about what kind of experiences you're having, as well
Oh
as what's
yeah.
going on globally.
Yeah, and honestly, I sometimes like I love looking at the stuff in the moment too. And what I like about astrology is that looking back, reflecting back, even if it's a month or two ago that certain transits happened, it's still so informative. It doesn't, it's not like, whatever, I'll just move past it. If you choose to look back, it's not like you're wasting any time looking back at it. I feel like that can be so fruitful because you can start to see the patterns are merging. You're like, oh, this is where this project or idea began, or this is where this thing kind of started to change. Yeah. So I definitely recommend going back. I do that a lot. Like, I think astrologers, like, not all of us are like looking at it every day, right? But it's cool to like be in the now and the know. The now, oh, okay, be in the
And
now and
now
the
the
know.
no. Go
I love
Kaia.
this.
Yeah,
This is
I love
awesome.
it.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
God. But yeah, like it's so cool kind of going back. Like I was catching up at the end of last year, as I was telling you, like months of transits I just hadn't recorded. I hadn't really reflected or journaled, but it was so informative and helpful to just kind of look back and using astrology as that guide to do so.
It is so powerful. I
Yeah.
actually think it might be more powerful in some ways to
Yes.
look back. Yes, looking
Mm.
forward can give you a sense of the energies that are coming or at play so
Yeah.
we can kind of prepare. We don't know, like we can never really, well, maybe some astrologers would disagree with this. I don't
Yeah.
believe you can predict to a T events. Of course, you can
Same.
feel into what's going on in the moment and then okay, well, we know this is the archetype, this is what's been happening. So
Yeah.
if you kind of like project forward from there or like think that way, yes, you can have an idea, but you
Yeah.
can't really
Yeah.
know for sure, but you can have an idea of the energies for sure. But
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
back and looking at your story and what transpired and the shifts and the pivots through that lens, wow, now that's real magic. That's really powerful. So I
Mhm.
strongly, like you were saying, I highly suggest for those of you who are listening are really into astrology and really want to track your life through it, to go back
Mhm.
is really something very potent.
Yeah. Ah, couldn't agree more.
Shall
Well,
we shall
yeah,
we
let's do it.
say a little bit about what we're going to discuss today?
Yes, we're getting solar.
We're
So
getting solar.
we're talking about the sun. So Simone and I have chatted. We're going to start doing a couple of different series. So this is the first part of our planet series, and we were like, we're going to start with the sun. Crazy. And we'll go through all the planets. We're going to do these spread out. So the next episode is not going to be like the moon, and then it's not going to go like, we'll do the moon next, but we're going to have some other little topics and themes. So we kind of want to weave them out, and we might do the same with the houses. We kind of covered some interesting things with the zodiac signs, with the story of the round, but I'm sure that there's going to be other things that we're going to play around with the signs. But for now, we know we're going to probably do planets, houses series. So definitely stay tuned for that. There's so much. And yeah, so today's topic is the sun.
Yes, we've chosen the sun because, it's one of for most people, their entryway into astrology is either, the moon, the lunar cycle, right?
Yeah,
But your sun sign. When you say,
yeah.
"What are you?" "Oh, I'm a Libra," or whatever you say. What does that mean exactly? And I think
Mhm.
that so often in when you're learning about astrology, we learn through the signs, but the planets are really the energetic quality that's moving through the sign. The sign's like the filter. It's how we do the planets in a sense, But the
Yeah.
planet is so important. And to really understand what does it mean to say I'm a Libra or I'm a Taurus or whatever you're saying, what is that solar quality? And
Mhm.
really digging into the essence of it. So it's interesting, Kai and I were talking about how the sun can be a little bit, while it's the first thing we kind of say, like we talk about it when we learn about astrology, I am this, I'm that. It's kind of elusive compared to
Yeah.
Mercury or Venus or Mars, which feel a little bit easier to discuss.
Hmm.
The sun has a different quality. And
Yeah.
so we're just going to see where this takes us, and we're going to have a
Yeah.
conversation about that. And then afterwards, we thought it might be fun. We want to kind of ground it and have some examples of how it might look in a house or in a house in a sign. But going through every single house can take some time, or every single
Yeah.
sign. So we're going to roll the dice a couple of times, maybe more than a couple of times, and just
Mhm.
see how it lands, like a sun in this house, the sun in that house. And we're going to
Yeah.
play with it and give some examples of how that might express.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited to use. We're at the Astrodice. We love the Astrodice. It's such a mutable like tool for games and whatnot. So it'll be kind of exciting to see what comes up there. And yeah,
Astro dice.
so
Yeah.
the Astrodice. Yes, I have mine in
Yeah.
this little bag. I carry it with me every day,
I
everywhere.
love having it. Yeah.
Yes, just in case you want to get some insight on something. So yeah, I'm glad you brought up the elusiveness of the sun. Just personally, it's kind of funny because we both have I got the sun the 8th, you've got the sun the 12th, which are
That's
kind of
probably why also it's more elusive for us.
right.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
might be a little biased, being like, what is this, sun and solar light you speak of? But, there's that. And that's a little joke for nerdy astrologers there. But yeah, the sun is fascinating to me. And when we started learning about it, I felt a little perplexed. So, I was going over some notes and some readings this past week, and it was kind of interesting to see the differences. And of course, we'll get into the moon, so I won't labor too much on the moon here, but it is important to kind of look at the sun and the moon because in astrology we call them the luminaries, and they are these kind of different essences than the other planets here. And they're such core pieces. Like the sun is fundamental, but I feel in order to understand the sun, sometimes you got to understand other stuff more, which I think is really cool that at Astrology University, shout out Tony Howard, um,
Shout out Tony.
shout out Tony, we didn't start learning about the sun until course 5. So before course 5, we learned about elements, the signs, we learned about the inner planets, which are Mercury, Venus, Mars. And then we also did Jupiter and Saturn. And then we did, yeah, I just wanted to check. Yeah, then we did the sun and the moon. So I thought that was kind of interesting to get those build foundational building blocks before we get into like this huge core.
Yes, and Tony doesn't like just do things randomly, right?
No,
He thinks this through very carefully, and that it makes complete sense as you go through it, because for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, as we'll talk about it, we'll be able to like explain a little bit more
yeah,
why it has this quality. But yeah, I think it's really interesting the order of how we learned,
yeah,
and I love that you brought up how the sun and the moon really, again, while we're focusing on the sun today, to think about them together, because they are a unit, everything is cycling together, but there's something specifically about the luminaries that, to understand one, you kind of want to understand both.
yeah,
And we'll be kind of weaving the moon in a little bit as we
yeah,
talk about the sun, but we're really going to focus mostly on the sun today. But yes,
yeah,
it's so great to think about them together. It's really important.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I was one of the books that we read is called, I think, yeah, just The Luminaries by Howard Susportis, Liz Green, big time astrologer, folks. And they do a wonderful treatment, just kind of talking about the moon and the sun. And just one idea that I really like that Liz Green like honed in on is like we kind of do start from life from a lunar perspective, the lunar realm, lunar moon, and the moon is our material security. It is like the actual tangible stuff, the mundane, the emotional nourishment core. The way I kind of describe it to people in order to get to the sun is I'm like, the moon is sometimes what you instinctively know, feel, how you respond, that habitual stuff. And then what we're really gonna, I started saying, I'm like starting to move. That like I
No,
was
I love it.
here, right? Yeah, because like the moon is like here. It's
Em-
inwards. Yeah, that's why it's like
embodied. It's embodied.
embodied.
Yeah.
Yes, it's yin. It's here. Sometimes regressive, but the sun is like that is where we start this journey outwards, and it's much more a developing kind of energy.
That is so key with the sun, a
Mhm.
developing kind of energy. It's like you're looking to the light and it's calling you out into this
Yeah,
journey of life. It's something that, sometimes we hear that people don't always, and there's different reasons for this, what I'm about to say, but,
yeah,
sometimes people don't always resonate as much with their sun sign as they might with
hmm,
their moon sign and other placements. And part of it is for what it was very much what you just said, because it's something that it's always in a process of developing. And, there's different things that can get, I don't even want to say in the way of the development, but that can challenge
right.
that, or it can cause it to take or create a situation that it takes longer to emerge. And
Hmm.
it's something that you work with consciously. It's like gaining more and more awareness of the self, and that takes
Yeah.
time. Some people, of course, depending on where the sun is in your chart, it might feel a little bit more immediate. But even
Mhm.
if you're, have like, let's say in the first house, which is a very, outward, like you can feel the first house, things in the first house,
Yeah.
it's still a quality that needs to be developed, that you're growing into. And it's often likened to the hero's journey, because it's something that you kind of say yes to this process of individuating and
Yeah.
going out and going on this journey of becoming the self, and that's an
Yes.
ever unfolding journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like just like getting these kind of keywords, phrases was really helpful for me to dig into what is this, what is the sun? And it's lovely to kind of switch your mindset from like for me, I am a Taurus, so I am this versus, okay, my sun is in the sign of Taurus or is born during the sign of Taurus. And so there are these qualities of the Taurus archetype that I can learn to develop over the course of my lifetime that will help me, yeah, feel more me. Or yeah, like my journey is kind of this Taurus solar realm. So what are the qualities that I'm learning to develop? And there's so many layers in each sign that you're never gonna run out of things to develop, and you might be developing the same things over. And it's like we are our sun sign, but we're also not just that in the black and white sense. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. It's like if we think of the sun at the center,
mm,
right? It might be it's such an important part of us. It's like the essence in a sense. But there's
yeah,
so many other things. But if you don't have that essence going, if it's
yeah,
not like it's almost like a generator, a little bit different than Mars, which is like energy, but there's something about that when you're in your sun, you're generating that kind of vitality and that sense of that
yeah,
keeps that light going, that gets everything else. It's something so vital about the sun. Even though
yeah,
we're all the planets, all of that is part of us. The sun
yes,
is very central, very essential.
yeah, exactly. And I'm glad that you brought up the point that sometimes people don't always resonate with their sun sign off the bat. And that's very common because sometimes the sun is hidden for a while because of aspects or how the chart is, or, and also how your life and circumstances, because sometimes it seems like we're stuck in different planets or different parts of our chart, and at other times in our life maybe we kind of awaken to something else. So if it is that maybe there are some aspects, and that's aspects are just essentially the geometrical alignments with other planets, their relationships with other
Perfect.
planets, and yeah, right, and how like aspects describe the vibe of the conversations between the planets in your chart. And so maybe there's some conversations going on with your sun from various planets, but one the and that's why we want to use astrology, because then an astrologer, or if you're learning astrology, you can see how these other planets who are having conversations with the sun might actually be able to help you out. You just maybe didn't realize that they were there to help you out so much. Yeah, and like in a reading, we're going to go over like, okay, your sun is in this sign, Cancer, whatever, and it's in the sixth house, and that is going to like flavor your sun as well and kind of show you how you might be able to let that sun develop and grow.
Beautiful. I like that you brought in the aspects too, because whatever the sun is in, I mean, everything is in conversation. But of course,
Yeah,
if they're in aspect, they're in a much more present, like it's like more of an immediate conversation, let's
yeah,
put it that way. And so to develop the sun, if it's in conversation with Saturn and the moon and Mercury, well, you've got to negotiate. Like every
mhm,
planet wants to be heard, right?
yeah,
And so every planet has a motivation, and we have different motivations within us. And so if we're trying to develop the sun, we really need to understand, well, if it's in conversation with Saturn, what is Saturn asking for? Because if, say it's a kind of this kind of cross, it feels like it's at cross purposes or it feels
yeah,
tense. Well, how would you, if we kind of pretend they were people, how would that conversation go? And how could we work with that so that, okay, Saturn, I'm going to do
yeah.
this. I need to do, understanding those energetics and who's in conversation with who, whom am I saying that
Yes,
correctly? Probably not.
yeah,
Who's in conversation is
yeah,
really important in developing
yeah.
any of the planets and here in developing the sun.
Yeah, and I think it can be really validating because it's not just like if astrology just you're a sun in Gemini, so you're this, and then everyone else has a sun in Gemini, and that's usually the haters of astrology, like, oh well, and I'm like, well, no, it's actually way more nuanced and extra than you thought, because your sun in Gemini is different than anyone else's sun in Gemini. You have a different rising sign, maybe from somebody else. That sun in Gemini might mean a different house. Your sun in Gemini is chatting with Saturn. Your friend's sun in Gemini, tongue twister, is talking with Pluto and Venus, whatever. So there, I just love how unique like the chart gets, and the sun can show that as well. And I think it's you'll definitely see some like common ground with fellow sun signs. That's great. But like again, there's such nuances to every sign that you're not going to be exactly the same, right?
Ex-
And exactly,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's like that's why we're like, oh, sun sign astrology. Then when
Yeah.
you start to learn, like, oh, I almost feel like when I started to learn about all the other planets, I kind of started to lessen the
Me too.
emphasis on the sun.
Me
And then I'm
too.
like, well, wait a minute, but it is really
Yeah.
important, especially when I learned that I had all these planets in Scorpio, and I can really feel that that is takes up a lot of my attention, the Scorpio planets.
Hmm.
But that sun, my sun in Libra, that's still essential. It might just
Yes.
not be as loud, or it might as,
Hmm.
or, within my psyche, but it's still central. So I had to go back, and then taking the luminaries course brought that kind of
Oh
back.
my God.
It's like,
Yeah.
wow, it's so important. It's so fundamental. So maybe we
Yeah.
can kind of talk a little bit
Mhm.
about some other keywords about this. So
Yeah.
we've already talked a little bit about how we're
Absolutely.
developing. It's our essence and in kind of this individuation process. But I
Hmm.
think one of the things about the sun or any of the planets, you kind of to feel what does it feel like when you're really living your sun or you're in
Mm.
the sun, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that sense of when you're in your sun and that and you're really living it, it's like you feel like you could have boundless energy, like you could do that
Mhm.
thing forever that you're doing. It's vitality, it's that
Yeah.
sense of purpose. When you're living the sun, you're like, wow, I really feel like I'm doing something purposeful. It feels purposeful to me, and it feels joyful. Joy is a big word for the sun. You're in this like
Yeah.
the light is literally emanating from you. That's those are some initial words.
Yes. I think, yeah, because we have to remember the sun is like what, 99.8% up there. Like it's huge. So yeah, it is
It's
the
huge.
central core of your chart. And I was doing the same thing too. I'm like, well, the sun's important, but also, and I'm like, well, no, it is. Like, why am I pretending it isn't? Like, hello. I was like, I'm good. I was like not giving the sun enough attention. Um, but oh, my brain just went away. I'll come back. Okay, no, she's coming back. Okay, what was I saying? I had a point, Simone. I did.
Story of my life. And right now, it's just the story of my life these days. Totally with
Oh my
you.
goodness. Oh, that's what okay, thank you. I found it. Yeah, the sun, like it's we couldn't live without it. Like it gives the light for I'm not a science. I'm sorry. Like I love science. I just can't I failed a bunch of science courses. So I'm not gonna go into the science of it, but we need the sun. And like the plants and everything needs the sun. Duh. So yeah, that idea of feeling the light kind of emanate from you and that vitality and yeah, we all have felt those moments of like, oh, like the sense of purpose. And sense of purpose can look however you need and want it to look. And it doesn't always just have to be one thing. I think sometimes people get a little like, oof, with the like, I have a purpose. But I do think that we have purpose and meaning. And that's what like something like the sun, I feel can be exciting and it's also requiring this work like because it's growth, it's developing, it's progression, like it's all these kind of external outwards words. And a lot of people like sometimes say it's the spirit or it's the soul, however it means to you. But I do think there is something kind of, I don't know, higher realm, something within you, right?
Yes, and I'm very happy that you mentioned how some people can have a resistance to that word
Yeah.
purpose. And yes, we're not saying that it's like the one
Mm-mm.
purpose that you are meant to do. It's a
No.
sense of purpose, which is to me a
Sense.
very different than this kind of concrete, you are meant to do A, B, or C.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that feeling that I'm here and there's a reason. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. And then
Yeah.
that can evolve. It's not
Mhm.
one thing. It could be something else. And then your sense of purpose shifts. So that's what's
Exactly.
important. So I'm so happy that you brought it up because
Yeah.
you can really get into these kind of dogmatic statements, right? Like this, you have this purpose and this is what you're meant to do, and that's it. Right? It's
Yeah.
just that quality. And in
Hmm.
thinking this, I was also thinking about part of the reason why it can be elusive is just thinking about the sun in the sky. We can't look at it directly. You know, we can't just look at it. We can look at the moon, but we can't look at the sun directly. We'd go blind.
Mhm.
So it's like we can't touch it. It's not quite, we have to
Yeah.
experience it coming from within and shining out, or we can experience it from other people. We can feel
Mhm.
their light, but it's really hard to just really see it just like this. That's not how you look at the sun,
Yeah,
right?
that's
It's a
such a
different
good point.
quality.
But you can easily look at the moon. Like that's interesting.
Look at the moon. And yeah, and again, going, I love
Reflected
what you
light,
were
I know.
saying. It's like this higher thing, right? And that makes
Yes.
me think of how the moon is embodied. It brings things down to earth, but the
Mm.
sun is you're questing out. It's like
Yeah.
the visionary. I know we think of Jupiter as the visionary, but it's in a different way. We envision the sun is that light that you're walking towards, moving
Yeah.
towards. So there is kind of that's calling you from a higher place because I love when people talk about the self with the small s and the self with the big
Yeah.
S. And like the small s is like what we feel that it's our ego sense and we need a healthy ego,
Mm.
right? The sun is also
Yeah.
a healthy as our ego in the sense of I am, right?
Yeah.
But the greater self with a capital S is like when you kind of are really in that place, the ego quiets, like it's there, but it quiets and
Oh,
something else is working through you. And that's when you're really in that place of the sun,
yeah.
when you're really living your joy and your bliss. You know, you hear follow
Mm.
your bliss. I think who came
Yeah.
up with, I think that was Joseph Campbell. Maybe somebody else. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it might have been him that came up with that, but that's, and he talks about the hero's journey. So it's like really
Right.
follow your sun, follow your light.
Yeah. And it's easy to kind of get, and it's going to happen. Like we're going to fall off that path of the sun, and I think like in Liz Greenhouse's Sportus in the Luminaries, they talk a lot about like there is, and following what you said about like the hero's journey and everything, and that like, like there's a lot of, the sun is not going to like not talk to you. It's trying to give you like a lot of astrology. I feel like our chart is like, hello, I'm here. Would you work with me, please? I want to help you out. I'm not trying to dictate your life, but work with me. Come on now.
Yes.
Sometimes how I feel. And I feel
No,
like the
yes,
sun,
I love
right?
that. It's
Like, hello. And the sun is very much like it's trying to give us like wake up calls or these like call to action. It's kind of like, yeah, like the mission, the call to mission, whatever it is, the call to adventure, the call to the journey. But it is like a call. And sometimes we're going to miss it or we resist it for whatever reason that is. Maybe we're really tied to some lunar things. So, there is something fascinating about the sun where it's like you kind of you start this process of individuation of separation, and I think sometimes there can actually be like a loneliness in that or a fear because it is kind of risky because what maybe for some people's sun journey that is having to cut off a lot of stuff or do different dreams or visions and what the family or tradition or society expected, and that can be a lot of lunar stuff, right? And so the solar journey outwards, I think sometimes people are gonna we sometimes hold ourselves back a little bit. And maybe the sun will try to like knock on the door again and like shine light on our face until we try to like it's trying to like wake us up sometimes, I feel. I don't know. What do you think?
yes, you absolutely feel the same way. And it does, again, bringing it back, I love that you brought it back to the moon because, of
Right.
course, depending on how it's configured, if we have the moon in a very prominent placement that's operating in a way that's very strong, meaning like it's taking up a lot of space in our psyche, and the sun might be in a more challenging configuration that it's, then the moon, all those like habits or the
Yeah.
past or family dynamics, all the things that we associated with the moon we're going to kind of want to go back to that and it'll be harder to journey out. Now, it's not about leaving the moon behind. We also
Right.
want to integrate the moon. I mean, the moon's going to shout at you if you're just doing the sun and you're not taking care of like nurturing yourself
Yeah.
and there's things that you have to attend to with the moon. So it's really always about those two being in conversation and
Always.
trying to listen to both of them. But if
Mm.
again the moon is strongly configured and it's very prominent in our chart, we might, to your point, have a hard time saying yes to that separation. It is hard to separate and break away from the known path and to take that kind of leap into the journey. It's
Yeah.
hard, and we're
It's hard.
going to meet with a lot of resistance along the ways. But
Mhm.
when we do that, there's that feeling, that quality is is just something that you can't really define. It's like that
No.
experience. It's just so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And the thing is, sometimes you can see it like in other people too when they're living that solar journey. And I think an interesting shadow piece of the sun when we're maybe not quite working on our sun, or we're like, is I think I don't know how you feel about this for the sun, but like I know envy could be maybe more of Venusian land, but a kind of like, ugh, like being a little jealous or envious of what someone else has, and they're shining so brightly, and how dare she take up so much space? Who does she think she is? Like, there's a little bit of sometimes also being seen when you're doing the whatever you want to do. It doesn't always mean that everyone's like, yeah, hopefully, but I don't,
It's so true, and that's usually when, if we ourselves experience that, if whoever in a moment, it's just usually a reminder that something else is egging it, wants to do that.
yeah,
There is a part that wants to do that, and when other people are in there like doing that, and we may feel like we're not, of course that's going to come up because, like you were saying, all these parts are like, "Hello, we want to work with you. Will you work with us? We want to
yes,
help you." And the sun's like, "This is your light." And so if you're not doing those things that are putting you in that state and other people are, it can be challenging. There's no question
yeah,
about it, you know,
yeah.
for
I had
sure.
a I had like a random question for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just as like a way to kind of round down the sun a little bit. I know we're gonna roll the dice in a while, but I was kind of curious. What was my question? Oh, for you, just like to give an example, because like we're aware of some of these qualities of the sun, right? So we have that kind of we have astrology as this helper guide. So I'm curious for you, like, is there like a literal way that your sun has kind of come into light, that you've worked with your sun, and or in addition, is there a kind of unexpected thing that you found out about your son, but that has kind of contributed to that like self actualization process?
Well, those are some very good questions.
Sorry.
And
It's
no,
like
I love
good
it. And in
questions.
thinking about that, I can
Putting you on the
say, what
spot.
was the first
Sorry.
part? Is like, what have you worked on? Like, what have you worked on that has brought out your son kind of
Yeah,
thing?
or like what's a literal way that you're like, oh yeah, this sun and Libra in the 12th, like I didn't like this is such a literal representation, and then maybe a more unexpected thing or maybe
Representation.
a deep, yeah,
I can just say for the Sun and Libra, just doing
yeah.
something like the minute we started working together and
Oh
doing our Instagram lives and now this podcast, it fills me with so much joy being in this relationship with you in conversation, doing something that feels very purposeful. So
yeah.
that, I mean, that's just the first thing, like that's just a
Ah,
very
it's
immediate
beautiful.
now example of it. It's
And
like so
partnership, relationship, Libra.
partnership,
Okay.
relationship, and bringing in the 12th house, there's a lot of preparation on in a way, I'm like by myself in this room. I know it's not quite
Right.
12th housey, but there is kind of a lot of um I'm alone in this room, but yet I'm in a relationship with you. Now, in
Ooh,
thinking about the 12th house, what was something, one of the significations is, or one of the ways that you develop planets in the 12th house is spending time alone. And what's really interesting with Libra, which is a relational sign. So how does that work? Well, for one,
yeah.
when I do spend time alone, I don't feel lonely. For them, I feel fueled a lot of the times because it gives me time to really sit with, and I can't find the right words, but I always feel most myself at first when I'm by myself, and it refuels me, and then I can
Yeah.
go out and be in the world in a much more objective way. But also,
Mm,
there's something with relating to the spiritual world, right? When I'm by myself, I spend time meditating or doing things that connect me to those kind of 12th house topics, to those things that are just beyond, right?
yeah.
And there's something about developing the relationship there. But,
Yeah.
and that brings me so much joy. But really, just again, doing things like this, and even my desire to work with other people in groups, but I want to do it with you.
Yeah.
Like you and I lead the groups together. It
Yes.
really is something that brings me
Uh,
so much. I keep saying joy, but that's the word. So much bliss. So,
well, thank you for sharing. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I
no,
think I
that's
see
great. It's the
now.
lounge. We've got to be
It's
put
the
on the spot. We're just sharing,
lounge.
and there's no.
Yes. Well, because also, so obviously I know where your son is. So I think also for like 12th house people too, it's just helpful to, kind of give some insights of how you could work with that. And I mean, I like literally what you said, like about working in partnership. I've talk about sorry, I'm just adjusting myself, everybody here. um Talk about seeing someone get like lit up, like me experiencing your solar self being lit up by partnership. Like I can hear it in your voice, in your energy. I still have the distinct memory, literally. This is why I'm always going to credit you that she originated the idea of the podcast.
It's not true, but okay.
It's true.
It was together. It was together. That's
True
such a,
Libra,
says my
true
Libra
Libra
sun.
over here.
We did it
It was
together.
both of us. I'm like, no. I was like, yeah, I yes anded you. I yes and then I called you later. There we go. But you're she originated. But but like talk about a literal Sun Libra 12th house manifestation. I could like the way you were talking about it and expressing it, like it's just a literal example of like seeing like someone's radiance and joy and like but like that spirit, and that vibrancy that the sun can we can feel it from people, from our friends or family, enemies, I don't know, when they're just like tuned in to that like current or channel of their solar realm. It's really cool to see. And so like when someone's being authentically in it like you are in these realms, it's inspiring. And I know again that could maybe get over into Jupiter, but whatever, we're not black and white here. I think when
Right.
people, right, we're our people are genuinely themselves, and people always say it but we forget it. It's so fucking inspiring, and it can be life-saving because it gives people the permission to go and then take up space in what they want to do.
Beautifully said. And I'm going to turn the question on you. I just wanted to add
I knew
one
you
more
would.
little thing just to think about is
Yeah.
that, the development of the self, right? And with
Yeah.
my son being in Libra, I have learned so much about myself, and being more objective and learning about other people's point of view. It's been a process because I have so many planets in Scorpio in the
Yeah.
first house. So when you have a lot of planets in the first house, it's like me, not like from a selfish way,
Yeah.
but it's like you have to, there's like a life of learning about who am I, what is my persona. There's a lot of attention on the self when you have a lot of first house planets. And
Yeah.
with Scorpio, it's very like emotional, and it's not necessarily at all an objective sign. But being in relationship and seeing how people respond to me and my actions and what I say has been a
Mm-hmm.
process of learning about myself and my impact on people. And so there's a lot of that growth and learning to be more
Yes.
pulled back. It wasn't like necessarily, I had to learn about how it wasn't innate. It wasn't innate,
Yeah.
but now I feel like I have come a long way in understanding how other people might think about something. So that was just another little piece I wanted to
No,
add.
thank you. Because I think like for like someone who doesn't have planets in the first through the 12th, that's really helpful to hear how it feels for you. And like especially having such a high dosage, right, of first house planets. And then you've got the sun in the 12th house. Like, thank you. Like I think that'll give our readers, listeners, like if they have similar placements, like a way to like get in with that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for asking that question. It's such a
Yeah.
great question. Now I'm going to turn it on you. How have you found that you've been
Libra.
or in the process of developing your sun in Taurus?
I don't know. I like to eat. No, that is true, though. I do love the good life. I love the hedonistic life. Um, no, but yes. I think my son is in the Taurus. Is in the Taurus. Is
It's
in
in
the
the
eighth house.
Taurus.
It's in the Taurus. Now, in quadrant house systems, it'll be in the seventh. But I'm a whole sign. For me, I like to use a whole sign. But I love them all, and I like the affinity with the eighth house. Both work for me, honestly, because other like relationships and other people and other people's resources. I've done a lot of solar work, developing the solar work through like being in shared companies, shared shows. Literally our work is kind of, it could be seventh house, it could also be eighth house territory, which is really cool. And what I have found is that I have to have, well, what's kind of cool about both our houses, like the 12th house is like the spiritual stuff, right? And the eighth house is, we got a lot of psychological taboo undercurrent things, which I have to have that. It's also sometimes where you find the occult. So I'm going to say witchcraft, like that's huge for me. I feel alive and I feel, like energized by being in nature, because I come from a nature-based lens with witchcraft and folkloric stuff, and really like getting stuff from the garden and working with those herbs, getting really tangible, like that's huge for me. And like my room is ridiculous, it's extra as fuck. There's some Leo moon stuff there, but really I'm also seeing the Taurus of it. Like I want all my things. Like I like the material goods of it. And it makes me feel alive when I'm listening to like occult stuff or astro stuff and I'm decorating my room and I'm have a treat.
I have
Like
a treat. That's
hello,
great.
I have a little treatette. And this is Venus. We both have Venus ruled suns, and so I'm like, oh, I have to have that Venusian element in my life. So I don't know if I really answered that question concretely.
You
Whatever.
did.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. And as you're talking about it, I'm getting
Yeah.
lit up and I'm
Oh,
looking at it. And you bring me so much joy in watching you, like all the way you decorate things. You always come just beautifully, even just how you walk into a room and you've really, there's that Venus that comes through. And I just love it. But yeah, no, you answered. I don't think I fully answered your question about what was unexpected, but it's hard to get it all in there when we're
I
talking, you know.
know. I know, right? And it's kind of cool because, like, and the reason I asked that is because over our life, like we're gonna keep finding out ways that both of our sons, like, oh my God, I didn't realize that this was part
Yes.
of the solar work, and like for me, our podcast lands in that eighth or seventh house, shared resources, shared energetics. And I think, sometimes I've been like resistant, sometimes some partnerships or groups, but I keep finding myself in partnerships and groups, and so like that, like this is really lit me up, like doing this podcast because then it allows, I think that's part of the solar work. It allows you to explore these other avenues of your life because you're aligned with what's happening in your solar realm.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Yes. And I'm glad that we talked a little bit about those house placements. You know,
Yeah.
it's something that it's really important to just look at where it's placed. And I think we can, did you want to say a little bit more about the quality of the sun, or do you want to start rolling the dice and we can
Oh,
kind of ground
let's
it? Was there
see.
anything else you wanted to say about your sun
Oh, no,
first?
I don't think so. Well, maybe what I'm learning I really need to develop is
Yes.
being really embodied. I need that routine, that consistency, because I didn't realize how much air and fire I had in my chart. And that's something when you're looking at your chart, you might see that you have all these other things going on and then less stuff in other places, but they can help each other out. So I feel like the Taurus can be this staying grounded, consistent power to kind of help, but like to be grounded and to really like, I think on an unexpected level, there we go. For me, at least, it was that very much Taurian appreciating little things in the moment. Like and like that gratitude that I think Venus can be really good at, just like, oh, I love the way this cup of coffee looks or feels in my hands. Like when I'm tuned into that, I feel like high, like that solar, like you gotta feel like high or like woo when you're in tapped into it.
That is such a great point because in thinking when I'm really with someone in conversation that I'm connecting to, it is a high. I was even just thinking of
Yes.
last night with my friends, and I had all these moments where I was just like in
Oh,
conversation with the person to my left or to my right. And it
yeah.
feels like you just feel giddy. Like I felt like, oh,
Yes.
this feels so good. And I could stay up all night, you know, if I didn't have to like check in on my doggy, then I might have stayed up all night. But it's that, yes, it does feel like a high. That's a
Yes.
great point. It does feel like a high.
Got a little sun drunk.
Little sun drunk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that's beautiful. And I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of painting a foundation of the sun. I'm just kind of looking over some notes we had here. But yeah, I think just really honing in on those kind of keywords, and then you can expand from growing, the purpose, the meaning, developing, developing, developing. So one way, like one very grounded way to work with the sun is like we now you know a little about the sun and you take your sign, so Aries, Gemini, whatever, and you see what are some of the qualities associated with the sign, and see does that which ones resonate with you, which ones are you're like, I know I should probably develop that, but I don't know. Are there any that you're like resistant to? And then you would kind of look at what house it's in, and that gives you even more kind of information. um and I think
Yes,
just remembering, yeah, it's not just behavior and character traits. Yes, but also more it's a process. So if you just get into your head, I'm never going to be done developing this, so it's okay. You always have time. Keep going. Like it doesn't like stop.
And I'm so happy you really honed in on the process. Really,
Yeah.
like what we always hone in on that process because it's like, oh, Libra, they're so indecisive. Well, no,
Right.
it's yes and no. It's like, well, you're learning to weigh. Part of Libra is weighing
Yeah.
different perspectives. Now,
Yeah.
ideally, you get to the point where then you go, okay, great, I heard all of this. Now, what's my perspective? Let's put it all together. That's the process of learning to find yourself within all those perspectives or understanding. But and that is so important. That is the part of the Libran journey is
Yes.
taking in different perspectives. That's part of
Yes.
it. It's not like, oh, it's this or that, so that
No.
really thinking from that perspective is fundamental. And something
Huge.
else came in, but it came right back out. So there we
Ah,
go.
I'm sure it'll come back.
Oh well.
Oh well. Well,
Well.
yeah. Should we do the game part of our
Oh yeah,
show?
yes, and that actually just came right back in. We
Oh,
are
perfect.
about to do
Yeah.
like what are we going to start with rolling a sign, like the sun in a house or
Yeah.
in a
What do you
sign
think?
first?
Should we do? We could alternate. We could do house or
Sure, we can start
yeah.
with the house, and that's what I wanted to
Look at our
mention is
Libra energy.
the house. Yeah, is very Libra. What should we do? What would you like to do? What do you want to do first? Um, but the house speaks to kind of the area of life where you're going to most readily develop the planets that are in that house. However, we develop the sun at all times. So that's something that's
Yeah.
really important. While the house is going to speak to where it's going to be more readily developed. You're carrying your sun with you. You're carrying all of your chart with you everywhere you
Beautiful.
go. So we're not really
Yeah.
compartment. It's just so something to think about when we do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think yeah. It's not like it's only here and that's the only time you do it.
And
I
that's
like that
it.
you
You're
brought
only
that.
developing it
Yeah.
there. You're
It's
developing it all
only
the
there.
time. It's just this is where it's like really
Yeah.
the focus.
Exactly. It's like a helpful way in. These are like guidelines,
Yeah.
gateways into getting into your house, or
Yes.
your sun sign. Okay. Well, yeah, we could roll. Okay, so we're just gonna the planet is we're not gonna roll any planets because we know it's the
Just gonna do
sun.
the sun.
We're
Yeah.
just gonna have boom.
Perfect.
Do you want to roll first, or would you like me to roll first?
Doesn't matter.
Oh no.
Welcome to Libra land, everybody.
No.
Welcome to Libra land. Yes, yes. Go for it.
Okay. Okay, let's see here. So I'm gonna roll, and oh my god, first house.
First, oh, okay, well, that's perfect. You know why we were
Yes, you take it away.
really crazy. Well, it's not so crazy, but interesting. Kai and I were talking earlier before we got
Yes.
on the call, before we got on this podcast, how sometimes first house, the ascendant, distinguishing the ascendant from the sun can be a little bit tricky. And
Yeah,
so let's maybe first
let's
talk
talk about it.
about the ascendant first house dynamics and then talk about what do you think?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's do it. I knew this was coming for us.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. Well, yeah, it's interesting because the ascendant and the first house are also associated in a sense with self, but it's like
Yeah,
more of the persona, not, we hear the mask with the ascendant, and I get why that is one way to look into it, but I don't personally see it as a mask because I think it's something that's always part of us, and
yeah,
it's kind of how we're oriented towards life, and it's a filter through which we kind of our initial interchange, but it's a persona, so that can it's like if it's a quality that you kind of come
yes.
across as a certain way, but the sun is the essence underneath it. It's almost goes
Mhm.
beyond. See, it gets a little tricky to talk about it, but it's like
Yes,
your
it does.
personality. And
Yeah.
you want to do like who are this is my personality, but the sun
Hello.
itself is not a personality. It's an
Mhm.
essence. And
Yes. Oh,
again,
that
it's
God, that helped. Yes, I have to remember that. Like, yeah, the ascendant really helps to describe a lot of these personality core traits, which are huge and fundamental. It is like a steering. It's like how you might drive the car of your life, or how there's so many metaphors, right? The drawbridge into the castle, the stained glass. There's so many beautiful
so
metaphors.
many beautiful
And
metaphors. Yeah.
well, I like how you said like the sun is kind of there trudging along because like I feel like the moon and ascendant are kind of here. They're a little bit more known sometimes.
Immediate in a
Yes,
way.
they are a little bit more immediate. I think maybe not always, but like overall, it seems from what I've been chatting with people, it does seem like that's usually pretty resonant. Because yeah, the rising sign, like you're typically maybe seeing that a little bit more than someone's sun sign sometimes. right?
Yes,
But
sometimes,
then,
yeah.
right? But then if and then yeah, so this it's interesting to have the sun in the first house because it's like this is your rising sign and it's also your sun sign. So it's like how do you differentiate those? It's going to be in the same sign usually.
Right.
And so again, there's so many layers to each sign that maybe your rising sign, is already embodying, let's say it's, I don't know, should we say Gemini? I don't know.
Sure. Let's go
Yeah,
with Gemini. I like
yeah,
it. Let's do it.
a
Yeah.
Gemini rising, there's some things they're kind of steering they're guiding their life with, maybe curiosity. We'll just keep it simple. But maybe part of their sun process in developing who they really are is hmm, maybe developing a sense of I want to say flexibility or hmm, maybe. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Curiosity and
Yeah,
versatility and
versatility. Um, maybe there's something to do with like communications, and maybe it's something that is going to be kind of very readily seen by other people because it's in the first house. Maybe it's a story about themselves because it's first house itself. The first house is like its body, it's your face, you're here, it's your vitality. So I think sometimes first house sun people can feel very seen, and that could be either positive, negative, or in between.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think like the first house in the ascendant, you walk into a room, there's a quality people like no
Mm-hmm.
matter where your sun is, there's kind of like something that you give off something,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
give off that's really the first house in ascendant. There's a quality that you give off that people immediately there's a read that people have, whether it's the full
Yeah.
like there's so much more going on, but it's that initial
Hmm.
sense that people get. Now, if the sun is there as well, there's almost like a light shining through that. Like you're kind of
Yeah.
sometimes I think I remember Tony kind of saying, well, sometimes it's like what you see is what you get. Because it's
Ooh.
like there's that sense of purpose for people if they've discovered it or that sense of joy or it's like so clear and present, almost like
Yeah.
it's like right there for all to see
Yeah. I would say, yeah, exactly. I think the idea of the self is going to be such an important thing for this person to
for this
hone in
person's
on.
journey. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And maybe
yes.
they have felt hesitant or a little shy or like there's too much light on me. I can imagine that could feel like a lot of attention. And so maybe figuring it out, like maybe they're trying to get their words out, and maybe this sounds a little third house, whatever. But like maybe they do a podcast where they're not seen, maybe if they're uncomfortable, or maybe it is a way to be seen, because there's maybe a boundary, they're on the screen or whatever, but they're
Yes.
getting their thoughts out, they're getting their communications out because this is Gemini after all. And they've already been leading their life with their Gemini rising. They're curious. Maybe they're able to kind of chat with people. Maybe they like to talk a lot. But now, how are they going to funnel it into that kind of that goal, that mission, that purpose sense of the Gemini sun?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I was thinking like sometimes the ascendant is also like the path that you take to
Yeah.
develop at the sun. And so there's going to be like that alignment of Gemini. If we're talking about
Yeah.
Gemini, like the path is being very curious and you know, people might be like, "Oh, why are you always going? You're always you
Mm.
going this way and then you change directions." Well,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's
Yes.
totally fine. That's the Gemini journey. And in doing that, is going to help develop the sun. You know what I was just thinking?
Mm.
Kind of getting ahead. I don't know if we're
Yeah. Yeah.
done with the first year, but I was thinking we could keep
Yeah. Let's
um
keep going.
yeah, we can keep going, but on our
Yeah.
next roll, I thought we could roll the sun in a sign, but keep the idea of the Gemini rising and just see how that might
Oh,
shift
yeah.
things
Let's do that. Yes. 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 And
whenever
yes.
you're ready.
Let's do it. Yes.
You want to do it?
Okay.
Okay, just to
Yes. Let's
kind
do
of
it. That's
differentiate, and then
exciting.
we can kind of think about those both,
Yeah.
the sun and Gemini, whatever we roll now within that
So
quality.
very
Because that's
Geminian of us.
it's very Gemini. See how we embody these archetypes as we talk about them? It's
Look at us
never
go.
fails. Okay.
Never fail.
So I'm gonna roll here. Let me get
Okay.
my little dice. We've got the sun and we're gonna
Rolling.
roll it in a sign. Watch it be Gemini. Just
What? Of course it would be.
watch it. Actually, it's Capricorn.
Ooh. I've developed a crush on Capricorn. So this is
Yes,
fitting.
yes, yes, yes. Please share.
Okay. So Sun in Capricorn. So this is a Saturn ruled sun. But I feel like, first of all, already just things we've heard about Sun and Capricorn, and Tony's told us, it is not uncommon for folks who have Sun and Capricorn to feel like it's gonna take a while. Sometimes people like Capricorn has a lot to do with time because it's ruled by Saturn. So it might take a while to really lean into the solar energy. Um, and there's something here about learning maybe to cultivate, a sense of um, responsibility, kind of, finding self through, finding purpose through some of the things here. Let's think of some of the keywords with Capricorn. It's authority, responsibility, developing these structures that stand the test of time. So really building something of, I don't know, maybe importance to them. And if we're pairing this with like the Gemini rising, right? Like
Yes.
this person, maybe they've been steering with curiosity, and I feel like they can add some of the flexibility and the mutability and the curiosity of Gemini to help that solar core kind of start to emerge.
Yes,
Yeah.
beautiful. And I think we couldn't have rolled. I think it's so cool
Ah,
to consider the sun in Capricorn with Gemini rising because they've got that kind of
yeah,
quincunx energy where you've got
they do.
nothing in common. You've got a mutable air sign with a cardinal earth sign. You've
Yeah.
got mutable air that is yang and
Hmm.
cardinal earth that is yin. So nothing quote unquote in
Quote unquote.
common as far as those things go. But to think of them
Yeah.
together, yes, it's like you can imagine in like just thinking, oh, the qualities that might be difficult. You've got Gemini buzzing over here, but then here, over there, and Capricorn's like, yo, one step at a, well, they
Yeah.
wouldn't say yo, probably.
Oh,
Maybe they would. One step at a time. You need to ground this energy,
yeah.
stop flitting about. And maybe
Yeah.
Gemini would be like, well, wait a minute, why are you always so serious? You have to like be, and it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that way. It can be so like they can work so beautifully together. Like you said, they're
Yeah.
well, Gemini can help Capricorn kind of think about things from different, get some more, get
Yes.
a little bit more curious. Not that Capricorn is not a curious sign, but it can
Right.
kind of, if you're like taking things step by step and you're climbing up the mountain, if we think of
Mm,
Capricorn moving, and maybe sometimes something's off and you feel it, like in your, maybe there can be a big sense of expectations with Capricorn or what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes there's
yes.
that sense, or
True.
maybe I need to take on the legacy of my family. That whole, there's that Cancer Capricorn polarity that's a lot about family, and there can
Yeah.
be that weight of carrying somebody else's son, maybe like you feel like you're going
Ooh.
and you feel it as you're going through it and something's not right. Well, Gemini rising, there could be this like, you know what, maybe I need to get curious about something else. Something is calling me this way, and maybe
Mhm.
it's better if I pivot now than keep going up the mountain that's not the right mountain to climb. It's not,
Yes.
maybe there's, it can like help adjust and switch gears, and if you really listen to that,
That's
as one
beautiful. I
thought.
love that. That's a beautiful way of like how you could work with those two energies and how your ascendant can help you get to your sun too. Okay. Do you want to roll a new one?
Yeah, we'll
Okay, let's
roll
do
a
it.
new one. So there's just some
Okay.
initial things to think about as we're doing this. So should we just roll, do you want to do the sun in a sign or house?
Let's do house.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So now we've got the sun in, the 10th house.
Okay, okay, okay. Yes.
All right.
House. Okay. So 10th house associated with like vocation, mission, career, calling sometimes, how your public might see you. It's quite public. So having the sun there, there's something about like maybe you're literally like this someone might be like, okay, like in a reading, but especially for this person, the 10th house, like focus, there's really maybe a sense of like that solar light being uplifted through a sense of vocation. And maybe it's not what you do for like your work or how you earn. It could be, like the 10th house, I don't like to get too black and white on because sometimes it can be just like this really deep sense of calling or vocation. But sometimes which can also be our career as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and so you would imagine that to really developing that sun might happen within the realm of career, sense of vocation, and kind of
Yeah.
being out in the world and doing like creating um, who you are out in the world, like
Yeah.
building. I know legacy is more Capricorn, but the 10th house, there's something really about career would likely be, or like you said, sense of mission, very important and fueling and helping to develop the sun. It would be a key part of one's life. and a
Yeah.
key focus. So you can imagine then like there's all the other dynamics come into play when one house is really emphasized. What does that mean for relationships? What does that mean for the self? How does that all work together? These are, if a client comes in with a very strong 10th house and the sun is there and is, having relationship issues, how might we advise? How might one advise to work with it? Because you want to support that 10th house sun, but and there's ways to work with that. So these are all the kinds of questions to come up. How would we speak to someone that, or how would you think about it for yourself if you have the sun in the 10th house? You would want to lean
Mhm.
into that, but that doesn't mean you can't have a relationship or you can't have this. You would just have
Exactly.
to kind of
Yeah.
remember that that would be an important focus for you.
Yeah. And I would be curious if like maybe there were positions of authority or leadership because the sun is also, that is associated with
Yes.
royalty, leadership, those kind of figurehead roles. There maybe that would come into place somehow. Maybe there's some work to do because the sun is also where we're going to face various trials. If we think about like the hero's journey, wherever the sun is also going to bring us trials. So the things that you are encountering, and that is part of the evolution and the process. It's not all like, yeah, it takes work to quest outwards. So my thoughts also, the 10th house is kind of interesting because it's opposite the fourth house. The fourth has a lot to do with home and family, but the houses always kind of feed info into one another. So sometimes when we have these big placements in the 10th house, there's some family or tradition, societal work that maybe we have to undo to reach that solar light, those expectations put upon us. Maybe there's a story with the paternal figure, right? So there's already a lot there, and not just the 10th house.
Yes, and also we often, the fourth and the 10th is often thought of as the mother or the father. And we don't
Yeah,
now, it used to be like, oh, the fourth house is mother and the 10th
yeah,
house is father. But it really isn't so cut and dry, but there is that kind of parental access there. So I'm glad that
yeah,
you brought that up. But also this, sometimes the sun has that kind of paternal quality. Now I tend to think more Saturn from there. There's people look
right.
at it from a different way, but if you have the sun in the 10th house, likely there's going to be a strong emphasis on some kind of dynamic like that because it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
emphasized in that way, the sun, the solar quality, and the 10th house,
Boom.
right there. So
Love there.
that's a great point.
Yeah,
And there, depending on how the sun is aspected, yeah, it's not like, oh, this is easy. I know that my purpose is to focus on my career. It's not
right.
so cut and dry, but that's kind
No.
of where the work is going to need to be done to
Yeah.
develop the sun.
Beautiful. Well, do you want to do another house or a sign? I'm down to do
Should we
another one.
do a sign and then put it in the 10th
Sure.
house?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Oh, that's
All
great.
right.
Yeah, I think so.
You want to roll this time?
Yes, yes. Okay. Rolling. Oh, whoopsies. So, Taurus. We've already done Taurus.
Okay, we'll do it. That's right. Let's do discussing your sun in Taurus, right?
Oh, okay. Pisces. There we go. There's a flavor.
That's a great one.
Ooh,
That's a really good one, I think, for this. Sun
yeah.
in Pisces in the
In
10th
the
house.
10th house.
So
I
just
love how we
thinking,
go quiet.
I know, I was just thinking. First of all, thinking of like the sun in Pisces, what
Yeah.
qualities are, being developed there. This is going to
Mm,
be Pisces has a more boundless kind of way of being. There's a sense of it's a water sign. It's very
mhm.
sensitive and very permeable. And there's a sense of absorbing other people's feelings sometimes and kind of being sometimes it's very connected to the divine, not always, but there's that sometimes there's that spiritual component. Music, there's something about those things
Yeah.
that are not necessarily tangible or concrete, but sometimes developing one will develop their Pisces sun through being a musician or an artist or dancer or something that is of that quality, right? So that might be
Absolutely.
the career path for someone with the sun in Pisces in the 10th house. Maybe it's a career that's associated with the arts or
Hmm.
with a kind of spiritual mission or something of that nature. But Pisces can also be very elusive. So it
Hmm.
might be something that takes time to really know what career path you're on and to
Yeah.
develop that sense of purpose. It might not be so easy to find right away or to
Mm.
describe to somebody like, what do you do? Well,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
maybe it
point.
might be
Yeah.
hard to describe. Those are just some initial thoughts.
Oh. And it could also be maybe it's so mutable. Pisces, like, so mutable. They all are, but my goodness. Like, maybe it's multiple jobs or interests or vocations or whatnot. There's been a multitude of that. I could also see someone, like, actors are actually, we see a lot of Pisces stuff, being able to camouflage, being able to kind of sift into who you need to be, and, like, similar to Libra-ish, like, having to really differentiate. That's part of, I think, the Pisces work. The Libra work, I'm gonna you can let me know, is sometimes have to separate, like, or see those separations from others, which is not, Pisces is not there to try to separate. So I'm not saying separate it, but, like, is my solar identity kind of merging into something else that's actually not quite as aligned with me. And honestly, I could also see, like, an authority figure or a head, like, leadership role in, like, marketing or
And
advertising.
yes, or advertising. That is such a great point
Advertising,
because it's
glamour.
also yes, it's associated with
Yeah,
media and fantasy and all
yeah.
those kind of, yes, absolutely. You could
Perfume.
totally see perfume, all that. But
Yeah.
I love that you brought up marketing and advertising. That is such a Piscean, that can
Mhm.
be such a Piscean career for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and using, like, that ability to kind of just adapt and be malleable and however which way that might go. But yeah, again, I think we're pointing to, like, those qualities of the sun too, like what's important to that solar venture, and so, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's an interesting one. I
It
like
is an
that.
interesting one, and yes, finding this that kind of, I don't want to say lack of boundaries. That sounds negative.
Right.
It's because, to your point, that's Pisces is supposed to have that flow where you don't
Yeah.
want to cut off sensitivity. Now, learning about healthy
Mm.
boundaries can be important. Learning what to
Yes.
take in, because it can be tricky with Pisces to separate who am I from somebody else. That
Yeah.
can be very difficult. You're picking up. I mean, the sun, maybe not as much as the moon in Pisces, might
Mm.
really take on other people's feelings as their own. But the sun, the sun too, it's still in Pisces. It's like,
Hmm.
is this my vision? Is this mine? Or am I picking it up from somebody else? It can be very tricky
Exactly.
to distinguish that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, beautiful. Okay. How are you feeling? Do you want to do another
How are
one?
you? We want to do
I
one
kind of
last
want
one.
to.
Why
Okay,
don't we
I like
roll?
this
Why
game.
don't we roll the sun, sign and house together?
Okay, perfect. All right.
And we'll close with this one.
Do you want to do sign and I'll do house?
All right. I
Let's do
love
house
it. Okay.
together.
Get the sign
Oh,
out.
okay. Give it a roll.
Okay.
Hello.
Do, 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 do. All right. Ah, Aries.
I have eighth house.
Oh boy.
Should I?
Okay.
I already talked about my eighth house. So do you think I should roll again, just so we give?
Sure. It's up. Yeah. Why not?
I just keep rolling my stuff. How rude.
I love that.
No, we did the. Oh, okay. So it wants us to stay over in this realm. I rolled the seventh house.
Okay. All right. So that's
Hmm.
great. The sun in the seventh in Aries, I think that's really great. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
combination there because
Ooh, cool.
the self is in the house of the other, and Aries is a sign that's about the self as well. It's a
Yes.
beautiful thing to feel into. I think it's a great roll.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting energy, because it's probably like this. Yeah, like, I can feel how that can feel a little like a juggling energy, because literally having the sun in the seventh house of the other, perhaps learning through relationships, learning about the self through partnerships, business, best friends, like, very deep, not just romantic, but that as well, because maybe this is a
Yes.
venture with a romantic partner. Maybe there's a business together, but anything where you're kind of working one on one with somebody, even honestly, I could even see, like, a therapist or but one that's got, like, like, I don't know, maybe a focus on something that's, like, got that Aries quality to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, I love that you're learning about the self through being in relationship. Yeah, you got to bring that, we got to bring that Aries in too. But I'm thinking, like, initially, I know sometimes we hear with the sun the seventh, sometimes there's sometimes a tendency to project the self onto
Mhm.
others, or like through, but that's a way of learning, like you're not really
Yeah.
learning about the self in that way. um and with Aries, there's such a strong drive. Like the sun in Aries is really about, like, what is my spark? what lights me up. And
Yeah.
in order to cultivate that, I need to really be able to follow that path, my path, what it is that
Yeah.
is that thing that lights me up, right? So that can be a very tricky dynamic within relationship, but there can also be a sense of, leading the way for other people and showing
Yeah.
others how to do that within
Yes.
relationship, like how to step up and be able to follow that spark. And there's a leadership quality, not just, I love that you said earlier the sun is associated with leadership sometimes,
Yeah.
but also Aries in a way like follow me. And there can be something where someone is more naturally takes the lead in these kind of
Yeah.
one-on-one relationships, perhaps.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's like an initiating, that cardinal quality. Maybe they're learning to be a little bit more fearless and take those risks, and like, hey, you hold this ability to lead this pathway and whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Lean into it. You've got that Aries courageousness available to tap into, and then that might light up your solar spark. I was kind of thinking like a self-defense
Oh,
instructor or
I love
I
that.
don't know why.
I love that.
No.
I love that. I'm
Yeah.
also thinking like, yeah, you're gonna like maybe you're gonna learn about what it is that lights you up when you are with other people.
Yeah.
It's in being with other people that you kind of feel yourself. You feel that that's
Yes.
more than maybe just being on your own. And maybe it calls for being with other people to really to see that in you, to feel that in you. It's another
Yes.
thought.
And maybe the people that they're in relation, like true relationship with in that seventh house realm, but a relationship which offers freedom and space and openness for that Aries to not feel like restrained, but that they can be their full selves. Because, yeah, like,
Yes.
everyone always says Scorpio is so intense. Yes, it is, but there's an intensity to Aries because that's like
Yeah.
that feral fire, primal energy,
That's right.
right? To really be the self in these partnerships. Yeah, again, you can say that for everybody, of course, but it's just going to be further emphasized for this like placement, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, these are just some initial ways to
Yeah.
think about it. And so, depending, there's probably people at all different levels listening
Yeah.
to this, but it is something we look at our birth chart over and over and over again. And every time I look at my birth chart, something new emerges almost every time.
All the time.
So it's just interesting to just like really hone in maybe on the sun and what's
Yeah.
connected to the sun and what, not just what sign it's in, what house it's in, what planets it's talking to, and really think about it through that context. How are these things feeding that sense of joy or not?
Yeah.
How often do we feel like we're on purpose? And if we feel it and then we don't feel it, what is that?
Yeah.
What is creating that kind of, when in life are we feeling most like that and when are we not, and what is that, what gets in the way,
Yeah.
or what challenges that, or what's pushing against that? Just some questions to think about.
Yeah, I think it's pay attention to those sparks, those like solar sparks. What got you there? Where were you? What was the environment? What was happening? Because maybe
Yeah,
if you've been feeling a little purposeless or a little lost or a lot of foggy, that can really help. And just remembering, yes, process, process, process. You're continuing to develop the sun sign. You're not going to run out of time because it doesn't end developing.
exactly. And we would love to also hear from you if you've
Yes.
had any thoughts, if you think about it for you. What sign is your sun in, or what house, and what has surprised you, or what's been part of your journey, or some of the challenges to your
Yeah.
journey, or those things that really light you up, and how do you feel that reflects your sun and your house placement? We'd love to hear from you. We'd
I would
love to
love
hear
that.
from
Yes. Ah, awesome. So I'm so glad we started this series. I'm looking forward to, we'll kind of go through the rest of the planets. And as we said, we're going to space them out because we want to intersperse some other topics and themes that we're exploring. But yeah, we've been having a great time so far,
you.
recording,
Yes.
right, some episodes. Yeah, and it's just really excited to get this journey started for ourselves. So thank you. If you've been listening, please make sure to like, subscribe. If you have Instagram, follow us on Instagram at the Astro Lounge Pod. And then my Astro Instagram is at Kaia Astrology, HIYA underscore KAIA underscore astrology. So give me a like and a follow over there. How about you?
Beautiful, Kaya. Yes, you can find me on Instagram at the.cosmicwanderer, Wonderer. And then my website is thecosmicwanderer.com.
Beautiful. And yes, we will take you for readings and consultations.
We shall.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm excited. Yeah, we have some more exciting topics, more games, more exercises to play with. So thank you for tuning into the Astro Lounge and stay cosmic.
Thank you for joining us. Oh, and Kaya, it's always so much fun to do this with you. I always feel very stimulated and full of
Me
joy
too. I know I
when
feel like ready to
doing this.
seize the day.
Me too. Me
I
too. Well,
love
let's
you
go
so
seize the
much.
day then. What's
Let's
left of
do
it,
it.
right?
Let's do it.
To the
Well,
next
yes.
time.
To the next time. Yeah.
Bye, Kaya. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.